And good evening. You're listening to the One Source Network. It's Wednesday, and we're in well, I'm not going to tell you the state we're in because, we can't give away everything, but we're very excited to have along with us this evening Mr. Winston. And I believe it's going to be a really interesting story that he shares about his life. But before we bring on Mr. Winston, Rebecca, what do you think about Mr. Winston coming on tonight?
I think it's wonderful, and I really look forward to the programming tonight.
Yep. So again, we have a little background noise. So, Mr. Winston, if there's anything in the background, you know that you have control over. But right now, we're going to introduce you to the audience. So we welcome you, Mr. Winston, to the One Source Network. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And how was your day today, Mr. Winston?
Oh, I feel great.
And you said you feel great. How would you describe feeling great?
Well, you feel you don't have no pains, you're just full of joy.
Yes.
Thank the Lord that He kept me here all these years.
Well, now let me ask you this. Let's go back in time. Let's go back about 30 or 40 years, Mr. Winston. When you were a little younger in age, did you always feel great gratitude in your life? Were you always grateful?
Oh, no, not always. But for 30, if I go back 30 years, I did because I was pastoring. I was pastoring my church. I had a church I was pastoring 20 years ago. At the beginning, and I feel good about it. I feel happy, and my family was with me, and we just had a good fellowship. Mm-hmm. And we had most of our congregation Spanish mixed, white, black and white and Spanish, and we just had a great time.
Well, right now, Mr. Winston, we would like for you to share some of your story. Where would you like to begin? Would you like to go back when you were a youth? How far back would you like to go?
Let me start it like this. I was born. That's okay. I was born on the 26th of March, 1933, to Vernon, Winston, and Edmund May Price. And during the time, they didn't accept me.
And you're listening to the One Source Network. It seems like we...
Yeah.
She covered up with a girl.
Okay, one moment, Mr. Winston. Seemed like we missed a little, so if you could just talk right into that microphone, and if you could start over again, we'll have a better connection.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Vernon Clifton Winston, born March 26, 1933, to the parents of Vernon Winston Sr. and Edmund May Price, homemaker in Oakwood, Texas. And during my youth time, my mom went off and left me in Oakwood, Texas. Anyway, my daddy never did own me. My grandfather never did own me. And my grandmother, we were lovely. Then my mother's mother, she went to Oakwood, Texas to find me. And when she found me, she brought me back to Wilcox neighborhood in Bryan. And I lived with her. I was calling her mama. To me, she was my mama. And she taught me who my mother was, but I still didn't want to accept it. I wanted her to be my mama. And when mama leave, she would leave me up there with my mother. I wouldn't stay. I would go home, to my grandma's house. Because she would be going out of town. My grandfather was a preacher. And he would run a revival, and he was sent for her. And she would go and didn't take me and tell me to stay with my mother, but that was a mistake. I wasn't going to stay up there. 5 years old, I would go up and eat, but I would go home. I'd be at home at night by myself, so I wasn't scared, because I know the Lord was watching over me. And so I went and did that. And I grew up in school and played Sunday school at 8 years old. I joined the church. And now we don't know where I joined, because there was about 10 of us they had a revival, about 10 of us on the prayer line. That Friday night, we had got these young men on the prayer line. I'm mad they wanted to preach. So all 10 of us got up at the same time, went up and shook the preacher's hand, and all of us said the same thing right behind one another, not knowing what we were doing. We just found out that, when you're young, you follow the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd said, I want to join church, I want to be baptized. So all 10 of us said, I want to join church, I want to be baptized.
Yes.
What did it mean? I don't know. I didn't know. I was just following the crowd. As I grew older, I accepted Christ as my personal Savior. Then I could really understand where I was going in my life. And when I was 14 years old, my mom wanted me to come and live with them. I didn't want to go, but my grandmother insisted that I would go and live with my mom. I didn't know them, and then they wanted me. I was old enough to work. I was old enough to pick cotton. I couldn't. And Grandma told him, he can't pick no cotton. Oh yeah, he gonna pick some cotton. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't pick 100 pounds of cotton. And my stepdad said, well, if you don't pick the cotton today, you ain't getting it. Well, that didn't mean nothing, because I couldn't do it. I went to bed without supper. My sister Katie, we didn't have napkins and things, but she would put a piece of cornbread in the apron and bring it to the barn while I was crying. She made sure that I had something to go in my stomach at night. And when I was 18, I joined, boys had to report to the selective service. I did, and I joined the Army. And they hoodwinked me about that. Well, I'm going to the Army, let's fight for my country. Well, you don't have no country. You sit on your country. And when I was supposed to went in, they went out and told Joe Petronell, the white man, me from going in the Army. I was 18. So we went in and told him I wasn't old enough to go in, and my mama wasn't on sign for me. And so I couldn't go in. But on my 20th birthday, the 26th of March, 1953, I get this letter from the selective service saying, welcome. You are to report for induction into the U.S. Army. And I was so happy. I was so happy. So I went in the Army, and I didn't go nowhere. The first month I was in there, first week it was the loneliest time of my life. I didn't know nobody come to see me. And so, to Fort Bliss, and about after a month, a friend of mine, we decided to go to church. I went and joined Silo Baptist Church there in El Paso, Texas. I joined the junior choir, although I couldn't make rehearsals. But Miss Johnson, our director, would make sure that we'd be in the choir on Sunday. She said, just get up there, open your mouth. And after the verses, when they start the choruses, you'll be able to learn the chorus, then you can sing. I was there for 2 years, my whole Army career. And after I got out of the Army, I went to Michigan, and Jeanette Walker, I had a crush on her. We used to, but she was 5 years younger than I was, and I wasn't about to go and ask her mom and daddy could I take her company, because they probably would have scared me. So when I went in the Army, my best friend, her boyfriend, was my best friend. So he got her. I thought he was going to take her and take care of her. And so when I went home in 58, and I went to his house, I was looking to see her. He told me he had gotten married. I was looking to see her, but she wasn't there. He didn't marry her. He married Lady Johnson. I said, what happened to Jean? Oh, she got married. I said, who she get married to? They said, she married one of the Airmans. I said, oh my goodness. So that was it. I haven't seen Jean since I think last I saw Jean was in 54. I think I didn't see her then. LT went out to the house. I didn't go in to see her. 1954, last time I saw Jean. And so I thought she just in a hurry. She couldn't wait till I got home. It's too big a hurry. I said, you know how I felt about you, and I thought you felt the same about me. But you couldn't wait till I got home.
Hey, Mr. Winston, I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
You said when you were 5 years old, you knew God was protecting you. How did you know that at 5 years old?
I knew. So I don't know how to explain how I knew. But I wasn't scared of nothing. I would go and stay in that house at night by myself, turn out the lights. Wasn't no locks on the doors. I closed the door, and I laid up in my bed till I went to sleep. Got up the next morning, went down to my mom and ate breakfast. When I got to eating breakfast, I went back home. I knew the Lord was taking care of me. He had taken care of me since I was born. When you're born, nobody wants you. Your mama gives you away. Your daddy don't want you. Your grandpa don't want you. So, and you're still alive, you know the Lord was taking care of you. That's how I knew that he was taking care of me, that he watched over me day and night. And when I went in the Army, everybody went to Korea, went to Germany. I stayed right there in Fort Bliss, Texas, the whole time I was in the Army.
So, Mr. Winston, you mentioned as you got older, you became a pastor?
Yes.
Do you believe God was preparing you and wanted you in a certain environment to protect your spirit when you were younger?
Yes. Because see, when I was younger, they used to tease me, but I was going to preach. I ain't want to be no preacher. All the old people, the old folks at the church would say, he gonna preach. I ain't gonna preach. I had too many preachers. I got my grandpa was a preacher. He has 3 sons that was preaching. He has three grandkids that was preaching. I didn't want to be no preacher. These kids used to teach me in school. They called me Reverend. Don't be calling me Reverend. I ain't no Reverend. I was getting mad. And how did it happen to me to come to preach? I really don't know. But it was a surprise. I went to church one Sunday, and the pastor Ray in Central Baptist Church, and he told the congregation we have a guest speaker today. I didn't have no idea who it was. I didn't ask him about no preaching my first sermon. But I got up when it time for the preaching. He had me to stand up. it's going to be speaker for today. And I hadn't studied nothing. I hadn't prepared nothing. I wasn't looking for nothing. So, you know, he says, you open your mouth, speak my word. I will speak through you.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke through me, because I brought the sermon that morning. And they licensed me to go out to preach.
Mr. Winston, do you remember the sermon you preached that day?
No, but I remember the temple at the end of it. I don't really know what my subject was, but I remember the temple. You know, it's the death, burial, the birth, death, burial, and resurrection of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So
that was my last closing.
So, Mr. Winston, you mentioned it seems like when you were born in this world, God had a plan for you all along. Now, let's fast forward a bit here. If you can look back and share with the listeners, especially the youth, let's talk a little bit about today's youth. What words of wisdom would you share with them?
The youth?
Yes, please.
First thing I would ask the youth, God gave you a command. What is that commandment that God gave you? But none of them know. I say, well, then I'll tell them what the commandment is. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days would be long upon earth. If you disobey your parents, your days going to be cut short. If you don't, if you go out and do something to make your parents suffer, your days going to be short. If you want to live a good life, be honorable to your mother and your father. And your days will be long upon this earth. Now you can rush it if you want, but I wouldn't advise you to do that. The Bible said, honor thy mother and thy father, that their days would be long upon this earth. That's what I have to go by.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again, you're tuning into the One Source Network. Our website is www.theonesourcenetwork.com. We have with us this evening Mr. Winston. And Mr. Winston, you shared with us you live in the state of Colorado. Is that correct?
Right?
Why do you think God brought you there?
Well, you know, it wasn't nothing in blind. Wasn't nothing in blind for me. Wasn't no jobs in blind for black people. That's the reason almost all the blacks left blind. All the high school, they graduated from high school. If they didn't have money to go to college, they left. They went in the army. Some of them come back, some of them didn't. If you had money, you went to college, and most of them, the black would come up with school teachers. That's the only thing with the black women, school teachers. You couldn't get a job in no bank. She couldn't get no job secretary. Couldn't get a job in the post office. This job you could get was teaching school. Well, I went in the army, and I didn't have money to go. I went to school in the army to be a truck driver. So that's what was my. I was a professional truck driver. So I drove truck for 25 years. I retired. I retired so young till I started my own business. I started a limousine service in the state of Colorado. And I had my limousine service for 23 years. But I got tired. I had been working since I was 6 years old. I tried to sell it, nobody wanted to buy it. So at the end of 2010, I walked off and left it because I was tired. Yes, sir. I started milking cows when I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I I started cooking, learning how to cook when I was old enough to stand on top of number 3 tubs to watch my grandma. And she always told me, she said, "Boy, you better learn how to cook, because you get a wife one day and she don't cook, you're going to starve to death." So I learned to cook anything that I want to eat from her. And my mom ain't teach me no cooking. My grandma did. My mom didn't teach me no washing. My grandma did. The most everything I learned in my younger days, grandma taught me. So that's where my heart is. That's what my heart was with my grandmother. And when she told me I had to go stay with my mom, I cried. I didn't want to go because I know they wasn't going to treat me right. But yeah, she said, "Well, I'm getting old. You're going to need me now. You're getting old. But your mom wants you to come stay with them." And I went and stayed. I didn't have nowhere else to go. I don't know if I run away, go to my grandma, they're going to come in and get me. If I didn't have money to get to Houston. If I had, they would bring me back. And I didn't know no Winstons. I didn't know no Winters. See, my grandmother was a Winters. And my daddy was a Winston. My grandpa was a Winston. And they when H.L. I don't know if you remember H.L. Price in Houston. He said, "When you come back to Houston, I'm gonna take you and introduce you to your grandmother's sister, your great aunt." You know, I was excited about that. So I went to Houston. He take me over to introduce me to my grandmother's sister. And she said, "Why didn't nobody tell me that you was in the world? We didn't even know that you was in the world." But we got very close. And she gave me a phone number to her brother and her niece. So they all call me apostles. I said, "Y'all call me whatever you want to call me. You can call me an apostle if you want. But I found what I'm looking for. I'm finding my family. That's the main thing. That's what I'm looking for. It's my family. I grew up without them. And now I have an opportunity to meet them, to find them." And my uncle, my grandmother's brother, he said, "Where you been?" I said, "I've been around." "But we ain't got nothing. They say you're an imposter." "Who said I was an imposter?" I said, "I didn't tell you I was an imposter. And I didn't tell you I wanted anything. I found what I want. I found you. It's up to you whether you accept it or not. I don't need that. I don't need anything. I have a family. I have a home. I have money. I have a way of making a living. I don't need nothing. I just want to know who my family is." And that's a good feeling when you know who your family is. And when my grandfather taking it to the grave, his grave, he never did tell me that you are my grandson out of all the years. And I grew up in the same community. We went to the same church. And half the members that the New Bethlehem church that we went to didn't know who I was. The only thing that Gene, she tell you, the only thing they know was Sambo. And Gene called me Sambo Garrett. I said, "Gene, I'm not a Garrett." He said, "What are you?" I said, "I'm a Winston." And Grandpa hadn't told nobody that he had a grandson.
Well, Mr. Winston, if you don't mind, I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, the title of this broadcast is called "Don't Give Up Hope."
That's true. That's right.
Okay, let me ask you this. For someone out there, Mr. Winston, who might be going through a similar time like you have, what would you share with them related to "Don't Give Up Hope"?
Well, I was really, let me get my thoughts together. Do you have faith in God? What is faith? Faith is the substance of a thing hoped for, and the evidence of faith unseen. If you want to go to be a teacher, you have the opportunity to go. It may seem like you can't go, but go. That's it, because when I went in the army, I didn't have no idea what I was going to do because I had quit school. I quit school when I was 18. I went to army when I was 20. So what am I going to do when I get out? I wanted to be a truck driver. So one Saturday, we was all in the rank to get our pass. They said, anybody want to go to truck driving school? I'm the only one that stepped out. And they all laughed at me, or they laughed at folks, and they thought I was going to be hauling rocks and all in the wheelbar. Come Monday morning, they called my name and step out to go to truck driving school. And that's where I started my career. And anything you have in your mind that you want to do, you do it, just keep it. It may take a while, but that's what you want to do. I had a friend of mine, he'd been trying to get his CDL. Years, he tried to get his CDL to be a truck driver, to drive a truck. And last week his dad told me he finally got that CDL. I said, he didn't give up, did he? They said, no, he didn't. So, you got something you want in your mind to do that's a beneficiary. Hold on to it. Mm-hmm. Don't give up. If you say, hold on to God's unchanging hand, everything will come about the way you want it to come about. But it may take longer than you expect. But hold on. It's about to happen. Oh, that's funny. That's the encouragement that I could give. Right off a hand. Don't be discouraged. God will take care of you. Mm-hmm.
So you have a question, Rebecca?
No, I'm just very moved.
Well, it seems like you have a great ability that God gave you to share your story and touch people's hearts. So this time in your life, Mr. Winston, today you happen to be on the radio, and it appears to me that your purpose isn't over yet. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, whatever God wants to do, I'll do it. Whatever He wants to say, I can't preach like Paul, I can't sing like Mary, I can't sing like an angel. Sometimes I get up, I still preach, but I don't pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, God didn't call you to retire, but He gave you the mind, the sixth sense. You know when your time is up. You know when you're not able to deliver like you want to deliver, like you used to deliver. And you try to sing, you can't sing like you used to sing. You can't sing like Mary, Jane, or John. But you do what you can do. Do what you can do. Do what God lay on your heart to do. Yeah, that's where I am today.
Well,
yeah, that's where I am today.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm sensing we have Jean, the lady you call Jean, on the other end. Jean, do you have a question for Mr. Winston?
Well, hello there.
Hey, how are you?
How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Good. Well, we had spoken several times when you had spoken with Greg, and he called the dog Winston. And you...
Well, you're breaking up, Jane. I can't understand what you...
You can't understand what I'm saying?
after this old call me for the killer, what you say?
Because Greg had told me you had called.
Yeah, I know.
And your name was Winston. But see, I didn't realize your name was Winston because everybody called you another name. And that, as kids, that's what we called you. Until Greg told me that you said your name was Winston. And we met when we was at New Bethlehem Baptist Church. Is that right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But I knew your family. But then you weren't there at the beginning.
Yeah. You got something in your phone or they're calling it.
Yeah.
I can't make out what you're saying.
Yeah, so
Oh, you can't make out what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not clear, but you was very clear.
I'll call you for the night over.
yeah, so what we better do is, we'll have him complete his story, and then he'll get right back to you. He said he'll call you back tonight.
I think there could be some interference in the phone lines.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
sometimes some of our guests and have a challenge hearing someone else on another phone.
Yes. So we thank you.
Make out what you're saying.
Yep. So let me put it this way for you, Mr. Winston. You talked about Jean when you were younger. You mentioned that she was 5 years younger than you, and you mentioned the word crush. I didn't hear that word in a long time since I was a little kid. So let me ask you this. All of a sudden, you both are a little wiser in age. I won't say older. I'll say wiser. And all of a sudden, God brings you back so you can talk. So sometimes God will bring a person back in your life. For what reason do you think, Mr. Winston?
We really don't know a reason because one thing we are both is old. We communicate. We don't say I said that's all we can. I don't travel no more. I mean, she don't travel no more. So we can just enjoy talking over the phone.
Wow. So how important is it to have real relationships?
Oh, it's very important. It's very important because relationships is hard to come by. A true relationship, a true friend is hard to come by. So if you have a friend that's in the corner, in your corner, you in that corner, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I think about Jean. She's okay.
Well, I think it's a tremendous story. It is a tremendous story. And we have about 5 minutes left. And in my spirit, I feel like I want to take a step back and just listen to this, Mr. Winston. Right now, we have what we call the internet, and people are able to hear you all around the world. And, technology has changed, and I'm sure it changed since you were a young boy. So right now you have an opportunity, with the coronavirus and, a lot of chaos in the United States. There are also things that are very hopeful. If you have the opportunity, or you do now have the opportunity to share your thoughts to the world, what would you tell the world now? What's very important that the world should know, even our political leaders?
Well, everything is in God's hand. Everything. This virus, he got in his hand. He can get rid of it whenever he get ready. But I look at it like when God told Noah to build the ark. everybody, things was happening, and everybody was going about doing their own business and laughing and calling the world, and a crazy old man, and it ain't gonna rain, and and so the Lord didn't stop. He just kept on going because He knew everything was in God's hand. God would bring the rain. He would bring whatever seeming that He wanted to bring. And when He got the ark built, and so Noah bring in the animals in 2 by 2, and God taking the lock. He didn't give the lock to Noah because He knew Noah would open the gate. He locked the gate himself, and it couldn't be opened unless He opened it because He had the key in His hand. That's the way I look. That's the way I feel about things. God has the key in His hand. This is in the beginning. God created the heaven and earth, not Trump. God, this is God's earth. And He can control it the way He wants to control it. And if it ain't right, He said a flood. The next time it's gonna be fire. Well, sometimes you look over in California, that's all you see is fire. Are you saying to people that your day is come? You don't know. Only one knows is God. He's God, the only one that knows. He's the one that has control. That's what I would tell the people. And I had a little something in the paper. We've been talking to friends, and I tell them about it, this virus and this lady, and she said, God will. God will save me. It's a cartoon. God will save me. And the nurse told him, said, "Oh, we got signs. God will save me. Is that COVID? Wear a mask. God will save me. We have a cure for the COVID. Here's a vaccine. God will save me." And she gets to the Golden Gate, and it's you have to have the vaccine to come through. And she said, "God, why didn't you save me? Why didn't you save me?" I said, "Well, I gave what do you think? What do you mean? I gave you signs. I gave you a mask, and I gave you vaccine. But you turn it all down. So now what am I supposed to do?" So we had that mentality. Things get to happen. Well, God, why you let this happen? Why you let that happen? Yeah. So God said, I done showed you. I gave it to you, but you didn't accept it. So we got to accept what God do.
Well,
so that's where I look at it.
Well, Mr. Winston, you've been a wonderful guest here on the One Source Network, and we would absolutely like to have you back if you don't mind. Do you think so, Rebecca?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have such a wealth of wisdom, of knowledge, God-given. And I've enjoyed listening to you and your to Mother Norman as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I believe that we need more of. And that's the wisdom of our elders. And we need it so badly. I need it so badly. Our youth needs it so badly. And God is not through with either one of you yet. So we would be honored, sir, if you would return.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I have one last question for you, Mr. Winston.
Okay.
You mentioned you're a bit older now, but wiser. But let me ask you one more question.
Mhm.
And you still feel purposeful?
Mhm.
Do I still feel what?
Do you still feel purposeful? Do you still feel like you have a purpose?
Oh yeah, I have a purpose.
Yes.
I yeah, I have a purpose. I got 62 great grandkids, 6 great grandkids. Yeah, I have a purpose. I want to stay here and see them.
Oh wow. Well, it seems like your wisdom is very simple to understand.
Yeah. I ain't ready. I can tell my brother, y'all go on and let the COVID take you away. I ain't ready to go. I want to see my babies.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Well, once
I want to see my great. Come along.
yes.
Let's go.
Yep.
I done saw my greats and my grands. Now I want to see my great grands.
Yes.
Come on, go. And when the grandkids started, I said, Lord, let me stay to see my great grand. So after the first one born, I said, Lord, thank you for letting me see him, but let me see some others. So he called me there. So it's 62 of them that came. And I ain't tired yet.
Well, Mr. Winston, I'm sure those who listen tonight and who will listen to in the near future will absolutely enjoy your story.
Yes.
And for some reason, we would absolutely like to have you come back to share elders' wisdom.
Okay.
And
Yes.
Yeah, let me get a little more prepared because this one I ain't prepared.
But you were
well,
Holy Spirit led.
Yep. Well, Mr. Winston, I believe you were prepared. You know why? Do you know why?
Go ahead. Why?
Yeah. You spoke from your heart.
Yes.
Oh, okay then. That's all I knew.
Okay. Yeah. So again, we have Jean, who was with him, which is my mom. And it was a good story to hear, Mr. Winston, how you both met and how God reunited you to be friends and to talk over the phone. And who knows the plan of God? Who knows?
You don't know what his plans are.
No, and it was a pleasure too, Mother Norman, to have you with us.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
And it'd be wonderful to have you back as well.
Yeah. So,
Well, thank you again.
yeah.
You're so welcome.
Yep. So we thank both of you. We thank Rebecca here. And one last thought for those who are tuning in tonight. Tonight's broadcast was Don't Give Up Hope. And imagine, I believe there's several or many people out there who are facing many challenges. And we all go through things that really causes us pain and doubt and confusion in our spirits. But like Mr. Winston said, keep God first, as it states in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added on to you. So once again, my wife, Rebecca, wrote, Don't Give Up Hope. Mr. Winston extended his wisdom upon it. So tonight's message, very simple message is don't give up hope. And few last words, Mr. Winston or Rebecca?
Well, I just want to say, excuse me, that good, wonderful feedback is already coming in.
Oh,
so,
could you read some? Feedback has come in, Mr. Winston. Hold on for a moment.
Never give up. God has us. Enjoying the interview with Mr. Winston. Speaking truth, and this is, it's wonderful. And of course, he's precious.
Yeah. So, Mr. Winston, we have people who are already texting my wife on her phone, and her phone, and they really enjoyed your interview. So we hope, God willing, you'll be back to share more of your story.
And this is Pastor Eleanor.
So once again, we thank everyone for tuning into the One Source Network. Our website is www.theonesourcenetwork.com. We thank you. Keep us in your prayers. And again, like Mr. Winston last stated, don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
And I would just like to add that if anyone has any questions for Mr. Winston,
Mhm.
please contact us at this at the One Source Network,
Mhm.
and we can get those questions to Mr. Winston, and he can answer them for you.
And
So-
share the number where they could call with the questions if you'd like.
Certainly, that's 888-404-4431. Again, that is 888-404-4431, and that is the onesourcenetwork.com. And thank you.
And we thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys for letting me listen.
Oh, our pleasure.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.